Welcome to McCarthy Performance. Just if you're wondering, this is my clean tank, which means I have two parts washers. This one is for washing parts that are brand new. The other one's for washing stuff that isn't new, kind of dirty. This is for stuff that's relatively clean, so I don't have a bunch of metal grit in this one. You push in a little bit on the bearing when you slip it in. I break the edges, but that keeps you from shaving the back side of the bearing a little bit. The 1 through 4 on a Chevy, of course, you're not going to flex the flange bearing, so got some paper towel fuzz, we'll blow that out. And make sure your caps are all the way down flat before you start torquing them up. You can chip the register or break the cap. You know, my torque wrench just took a dirt nap. All came along and then they took them over and they were pretty decent for a while. Now they're starting to get flaky again, my opinion. Don't send me hate mail. I'm just a guy trying to put engines together, and it's really hard to put them together. It just seems like we were talking about soft plugs, and I don't usually have a problem with soft plugs. Well, here's soft plugs that I used to use. That these are old, laying around. They've been here for probably a few years, and you probably still can get them this thick. Well, look how thin these are. Well, these are made in China, you know. These are supposedly made in the United States, and you probably still can get them. Well, there's a thickness difference there. You know, you can see it. Just that's the way it goes. You know, you try to do the best job that you can, and I really truly do. And it always seems to be, you know, the product. So I'm not going to try to get into a big rant on that. But this week I've been nailed with so many different things coming from so many different. Well, I started making a video on this, and I was not in a very good mood, and I thought I shouldn't even make a video. I went back and I edited a lot of it. But I'm going to make this video, and I think it's important for people to realize this. Now, I got Clevelite Mall or Molly or however you want to pronounce it, bearings. In the past, Clevelites were good, and then they kind of got crappy around the 90s, and they straightened back out. I think I talked about that before prior to this last part of the video, which this is a 2-day video, because I kind of decided to keep my powder dry and not say nothing until I got another set of bearings in. Well, the bearings showed up from Motor State. This ain't about Motor State. This is about bearings and different companies with different size bearings. Now, if you think bearings are standard and they'd all fall under that category, you'd be sadly mistaken. And I mentioned in the race stuff, and I have a ball mic, and I can measure the wall thickness, and I can do everything but I can't make a bearing. I can measure it, but I can't make a bearing. But it's almost getting to the point where, you know, you just about have to make bearings now, because I have got 3 different sets of bearings here, and they're all different sizes. Well, you know, the guys that build engines will say, that's nothing, just change the channel. We don't want to listen to you. We know all about it. Well, yeah, but the things are getting worse than they have ever been. Okay, Clevelite used to be made in the United States. Mall took them over. I felt for a while they were a pretty damn good bearing. And I was running Kings, so please don't email me and say, oh, you know, you got to use Kings. I used Kings. I used Kings when they first came out. I used Kings when Callie's Crank used to sell them, okay? I've been around the block a few times. I'm an absolute professional and know everything about absolutely everything? No, but I know a few things. I put a few engines together over the years. And then King got crappy. And I went through it with them, and they started not being as good as they used to be. Well, that seems to be the problem, what's going on with Clevelite right now. I had Brazilian bearings in here. I got some Brazilian bearings, and, you know, there's a made in Brazil. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. ACLs, Kings are made in Israel. I just want a good bearing, you know, no big deal, you know. Put them in here. I had 5 thousandths on this one. I had 4 thousandths on this one. I think I had 3.5 on this one. I had 3 in, I believe that was 3 2/10 on this one. Okay, all these housing boards are within 2/10 of a thousandths, and I mentioned that in the video. So this is a follow-up. So you'll have to bear with me if I repeat myself. So I had a set of old cleave lights, and I'm not talking dinosaur. I'm just saying they've been around for a while. I didn't have a full set. You know, these were made in the United States. Okay. The ones that I had, I put in. Now, the rear thrust, I'm at 3.5 with the old style cleave lights. 3.5 from 5. That's a little bit. I mean, that's enough to get excited about. I changed out this one. I've got basically 3,000. Let's just say we're going to round it up a tenth or down a tenth. It's 3,000. So that ain't such a big deal. But the bearings are inconsistent. Now, these housing boards are the same size, within 2/10. So why am I getting 3 2/10 on the first one, and I'm getting 4 on this one? And why would I be getting 5 on this one? I could measure the wall thickness, but obviously the wall thickness is wrong. You know, it's way off. And if you look at the bearing quality, you maybe can see that. Maybe you can't. There's ridges in this thing, and I mean like a rigid, I mean you can feel them. There's ridges in there. You can actually physically see it, and you can feel it. Okay, so I got a set of ACL race bearings. I don't need ACL race bearings for a street engine. I'd prefer not to use them. Their standard size for the 909 would be a cleave light number for the 350. That bearing is 3.5, which would be great for a street, well, not a street engine. It would be all right for a race engine. I'm not particularly fond to run that much. So I tried Federals. I figured we'd be good with Federals. Maybe that would solve the problem. Maybe there's a batch issue. Sometimes it's wise to change up to a different bearing manufacturer. So these are OEM. This is what I'm getting. I didn't even follow up to put number 5 position in, because if the standard bearings are at 4 and the flange bearings are in the rear, and usually they're a little bigger, it sure the hell ain't going to be 4. It's probably going to be more than that, and I'm not going there. I'm not even going to waste my time putting them in here. Now, the crank is over here, and it mics out pretty good, but the crank is, is undersized by about 2/1000 on the low limit, or 2/10, excuse me. That's not a lot. The housing board is in the middle of the spec. That shouldn't be an issue. The problem is it's bearings. How many sets of bearings do you have to buy? Now, let's back up. You can say, well, you're out to lunch, you don't know how to measure nothing, and, the crank's undersized and the housing boards are too big. Well, that's easy to say. The question is why are the half a set of cleave lights made in the United States coming up more than acceptable to put this thing together and run it, and I would sleep at night and not worry about it. And everything else is 4.5 to 5 on the rear flange bearing, and 4 on number 4. It just happens to be. I think these two are approaching 4. So that's kind of the video that I made today. I didn't know if I should continue it, but if you don't have a dial bore gauge, and this gauge reads intense. It isn't like I'm using Kmart equipment and but I'm getting Kmart bearings. And don't send me emails about Kmart. I'm just using it as, let's use it a dollar store then. I'm getting dollar store, uh, clearances with thousands of dollars of measuring equipment. Something ain't right. I'm getting another set of bearings that are P bearings that are 909s that the guy at the warehouse assures me that they're United States made bearings and hopefully they'll be better. But the not that I'm against using bearings from different companies, like I said before, but if you look at these are made in Mexico, and these have been made in Mexico for a long time. And I used to use their race bearing, but yeah, it's just a simple straight up build. The housing board's in the middle of the spec. The crank's a little bit on the low limit, but I should be at 3 thousandths all day long, and that's more than acceptable for this engine, but I can't get there with the bearings that I've been getting lately. So that's the video, and take it for what it's worth. If you want to comment, fine, but if you're going to comment and tell me about King bearings or ACL bearings, I've used them all. Engine Pros, I mean, they're made by ACL anyway. So I guess, maybe you'd be wondering, well, what's your answer to the problem? I don't have an answer to the problem with stuff changing and things that I used to use that I knew was good and I could count on them, that I used for over 15 years or 20 years easily. And then they change up because they can get a bearing cheaper built somewhere else, or the company in the United States moves away. And this is one drawer that I have of just bearings. You can't keep, well, you could, but it'd get expensive really quick, of all the bearings that you're going to keep for all the engines you do. Well, this is my big block Chevrolet bearings, and I got some cam bearings too, and some more Chevrolet and a few other bearings here. The bottom line is you can get poor really quick, fast on a small shop just carrying all this stuff. Some of this stuff I might use, some of it I might not use in a long time. And bearings have a shelf life. If you're in a area of the state or the country, excuse me, where there's a lot of humidity, the bearings will start getting chalky and they'll start getting etched out. So that was the problem why I said I had a half set of American bearings, is because some of them were starting to get go sideways on me. Some of the coating was coming off of them. Probably wouldn't hurt them any, but you really don't want to start. It's a new engine. It should have a fighting chance of using some decent parts. I mean, I was talking to my buddy yesterday, and I said, jokingly, I said, you're gonna have to start taking engines apart and looking through the bearings just to get some good bearings and wash them and reuse them again. That's, I kind of meant it as a joke, but boy, it's almost getting to that point with everything, not just bearings. I used to really enjoy this business. I used to like to try to make people happy, and most of the time I could. But boy, parts are just, it just takes the fun right out of this business. And I guess that's my, I'm pretty cranked up about it, so I'm really trying hard to keep my mouth shut. But I thought I'd at least make a video on this and bring that point up. This engine's, when I build an engine in my shop, because I think you've seen my shop, it isn't very big. It's quite open. I've taken 2 days and only worked on this engine. I had planned on putting it together today. I'm not going to run a machine in this shop until I'm done building this engine. I don't have a clean room, but my engines are as clean as I could make them, and it's holding me up. Um, I kind of enjoy putting them together, but it's almost the point now where I might just have to do the machine work. But God, that opens up a bunch of a can of worms, because you get into a situation where somebody says, "Hey, my bearings don't fit," or I don't want you to assemble it, but I want you to give me my check my bearing clearances. Well, what are you going to do there? But because I'm not getting clear and free of the junk that they're peddling out there right now. And I'm not going to mention any names, but that's kind of how I feel about it right now. So, maybe I should take a little bit of time off, but I hope you enjoy my videos and get something out of it, because you know this business is really turning into a real crap show. Thank you for watching.